All right, tentative budget.
Scott's going to go through with you, and then he had some questions. So it's questions submitted from Mr. Walsh. The thing I want to draw your attention to is we did update special ed in June when the board approved the tentative budget. They approved a deficit of just over $300,000. Based on the adjustments you'll see tonight, the proposed deficit is now down to $200,000. We'll do another sheet that will include these and any additional ones we need to make once we start school in August. So basically, this is like the tracking document that we keep from June when we approved the tentative through September when we post the final budget for approval. Scott will be tweaking these in the tentative budget that's posted online, and that will continue to be available to the public all the way through September. But instead of giving you a new budget every time, we'll track the documents this way, or the changes this way, so that you can see them and it summarizes them.
Can I ask a question? Are we going to, we have to approve this and get it out in the public in order to meet the timeline that's required, right?
Yes, it's got to be.
Got to do it today.
Public for 30 days.
And we're not going to change anything from what you sent out on Friday?
No. I just wanted to send that out with the actuals in it from June 30th, and then with these adjustments done in it.
Gary, I have a suggestion.
You're asking
What
to
if we not
approve.
go through all the questions today and just approve it the way that he put it out, and he can go through and send us something that answers the questions before the next board meeting?
That's
do you
fine,
think
but I
about
think you
that?
should summarize some items because I think there's some people in the audience who'd be interested to know that you funded certain sport. So if you can.
That's not in the budget.
Here's my question for you, though, Scott. I don't think we need to take action every time you update the tentative budget. The board approves the tentative budget in June so that we have a budget to work off of for June, or for July, August, September. So they don't, every time you bring them proposed changes, they don't need to approve another tentative budget tonight, another tentative budget in August.
Oh.
So we don't need to approve anything tonight. We just need to tell them, hey, here's the updates we're making and here's why we're making it.
Yes.
And we're
it's
keeping this summary
okay.
for you so that it comes September, we can go through all these changes and tell you either here's why the deficit increased or here's why the deficit decreased.
And to my question, I want all my questions answered, but you can take a month to go through them,
I got
and
them.
people can decide whether we want to make adjustments or not. How does that sound?
I would just touch on the big ones,
Yeah.
the ones that are of significance. Why don't you go over your budget adjustments?
Okay. If we just look at the adjustments that are out there, I know at the previous month one, I adjusted the expenditure side. I didn't have the figures to adjust the revenue side. Private facility, that's based off of our FY19 revenue is based off of our FY18 cost. So I had to wait to get my total cost for that to be able to budget for it. As far as budgeting wise, I have the remaining payment from this current FY18 in there, and then I'm expecting 3 payments for next year's budget in 19. That's how I came up with the figure to try to be as close as I can to what I think the state is going to reimburse. The actuals that are out there in this, like I said earlier, we did receive the 2 payments that were remaining from FY17 and got 3 payments for FY18, making 5 payments. Normally we get 4.
That's why you're proposing, even though the actual was 341 for 2018, you're proposing only 285 next year
Yes.
because you got an extra payment that you don't expect to get.
I'm not expecting the extra payment. And that's the same thing with the room and board on that one.
Well, that one you're proposing.
It's very close to
exactly
the
what you
actual.
did. So you're expecting
And
what
based off
happened
of
this year
our
to be the same next year.
based off of our FY18 costs and based off the federal reimbursement rate of 90%, that is the right-on number.
Okay.
Pay to participate sports, a $5,000 increase. I know the actual was a little higher that came in. As a reminder on this one though, you get all the current year stuff, and any parents who had payment plans, you collect past fees that were outstanding. So I'm not 100% sure how many were current versus what was the past due fees that came in.
So we're not going to have less students or sports next year. We're going to have more sports.
You're going to have
right?
more.
So why do we think it's going to go down?
It's not going down.
No.
I have it increased from what was previously budgeted versus the
Yeah.
actual, yes, it's going down.
I'm looking at what came
Actual
in at
versus
18
budget.
versus what you're budgeting. You're budgeting 10,000 less than what we collected this year. And we're going to have more sports.
But that don't mean we'll have more athletes. Those kids could be shifting over from one sport to another.
We estimate we're going to have less. That's why we're coming in 10,000. I'm trying to see why I'm talking about. What's the logic in it's coming in less next year? We have more sports.
But we also
But-
have a higher waived fee.
Wait, he explained it. He budgeted 160, 175 came in.
Right.
But he said he doesn't know how many
I
of
don't know
those
how
were
much
past
past
due
due fees
fees
that were
from
on
previous
parents that were on
years
payment
that parent
plans.
paid
Okay, but let's compare it to what we did with, that's the same thing we said about the taxes. Whatever it is, why do we expect next year to be different than last year?
on the actual side.
Yeah. Because every year some people pay after, I assume. That
Scott,
happened
why
last
don't you
year.
do your 3-year historical on that and see what that should be?
I mean, this is what I'm talking about when I said we always underestimated. I don't see, all your answers don't give a basis of why we think we're going to collect less money next year. We have more sports.
Okay.
Last year. So if last year the freshman class was the largest, right? Is this one going to be larger or smaller?
Smaller.
Smaller.
By how many
We're,
students?
right now, we're projected to be about the same enrollment. It'll
Yeah.
depend on transfers, but, because you also have to look at how big the outgoing class was as well.
Right, but I think the freshman class is considerably bigger than the outgoing class, right?
In terms of enrollment, I think we're, depending on transfers, we are expected to be somewhat around the same.
Yeah.
But transfers is the variable.
But we expect to be very close to last year, right? So we're having more sports, we're having the same number of students. I don't understand why we think we're going to collect less. It's just one example of, that filters down on the rest of them too.
I understand, but I could go through other fee accounts and say, we collected less. I
Well,
should
hold
go down
you-
on fee
Hold on,
accounts.
you could do that, but you
I mean,
highlighted this
exactly.
one, and this one, we know what we collected last year now. We have the same number of students, we have more sports. Why, you haven't said one reason why you think we're going to collect less next year than this year. If anything, without going through an analysis, you would expect to be at least the same, right? That's my point. Yes, you could go through every line and maybe we could argue about it. I don't want to. I'm saying you highlighted this one and we're going down and I don't understand what the basis is for it. And if you do 10 of them like that, that's $100,000. And we have a $240,000 deficit or $200,000.
But I could also go 10 the other way. Not, you know.
You know what, Scott, if you want to do that, I will come in and sit down, but then you go through each one and explain the reason for it. I'm aggravated because you answer it, you didn't provide a reason why it's going down.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, based on what we know, it shouldn't go down. So if you want to go through and say, I want to go through a whole bunch and they should go up or down, that's fine.
All right, so you'll go back and review that.
Let's do a 3-year, what's the rules that we follow when Scott and I do budget? So we do either a 3-year historical or we call the service provider. Like with the utilities, even though he has on here, he used actuals, he also called the service provider, the utility companies to get us their projections.
That's helpful.
So let him do a 3-year historical on what fee collections have been, and
You know what, I don't want him to go through every line where there's a $10,000 difference and spend time historical. I'm pointing out the fact that you're not providing a justification why this is going down on one where you're
Tim.
going down.
Tim, if we want, I don't think it's appropriate for the board to right now go after a particular employee. If we feel this report is not done well enough, or we need more justification, then maybe we need to ask Kevin to get some more justification for these numbers and some more explanation.
we will have that at the August meeting on some of the questions that were submitted. Scott, any other ones you want to highlight?
Just be mindful that after going through costs for next year with special education tuition, there is also an increase in that line item from the previous one that you saw.
And Kristen specifically reported on, she looked at the incoming class for that one, right, Kristen? Or
I
somebody
do
did.
not. Our director
Somebody-
of special ed
somebody
worked
did.
with Scott
Yes.
on that.
Yeah, okay.
Wow.
Okay, anything else, Scott? And then there were a couple questions submitted that you had some general answers. I'd stick to the big ones here. Does page 69 is from the old budget that was put in by accident, correct?
Yes. I really don't know what to go through. I answered all of the questions with it. If it's easier to send it through via a Friday update to the board,
I would do that.
if you would like that.
Okay, we
can
could do
that
that.
too.
You had a couple columns that were just at 0% change, but they showed there was a change from budget to actual. Did we fix those formulas?
Yes.
Okay.
So there, but that wasn't, you fixed it, but that wasn't provided to the board yet, right?
No.
So will it be-
Everything will be adjusted and posted tomorrow.
I'll
With
send
what wasn't
an
working-
updated copy of the budget to the
Or
board.
can we approve it?
You don't need to approve it. The board approved
We've
the
already approved the
tentative.
budget, right? We're gonna make
budget.
changes to this,
You don't-
right?
Right. So they'll send
Because
it.
not all changes are incorporated into this.
Mary Ann
figure,
just has it in there as a
This
general.
was
You don't
the
have to
old
keep approving
version.
a tentative
I've
every
made
time.
changes to the budget, it's just not in the board book.
No, you don't do that till September, the
So,
final. The other one's on public notice.
I mentioned,
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
in conversation last meeting that if we were to approve lacrosse, it would change the budget,
Yes.
right? So you have not reflected any change for lacrosse in here yet because we have not approved?
Board has not
lacrosse?
taken action on the cross, so it's not in there.
Okay. So once we take action, you're gonna, you would have to amend the budget,
I would,
right?
I'll
For
put
the
it on
costs associated
the,
with
I'll put it
lacrosse,
on the
right?
changes to the tracking document and have that going.
All right, just,
So I have,
okay.
so I have dead brain cells. We've sent this out for public notice last month.
Board approved the tentative
No, it hasn't
budget.
been public notice. Just,
Hold on. You guys are confusing each other. The board approved the tentative budget in June. It is now sitting on our website for public view, and it has to sit out there for at least 30 days before you can approve the final budget. So that's going to sit out there July, August, until the second week of September. Before the September meeting, when we have the budget hearing, he puts in the newspaper
Notice.
that we're doing the formal public notice that there's going to be a hearing to approve the final budget. So it's technically out there.
We approved that last month.
Correct.
Put it out there for the
Correct.
public to view it.
Correct.
Okay. So yes, we don't have to go through all this.
Correct, that's what I stated earlier,
I
correct.
got it now. So I'd suggest we,
I'll
Give
send
you a
out,
chance to go through
let
it.
Scott tighten up the budget with the changes he made
Yeah.
from the corrections identified, and then he'll post that online, and I'll send the board an email copy of the updated budget. Press
Scott.
policy, okay, I'm sorry, John.
I mean, we've gained $100,000, haven't we?
We're gonna spend it in about 2 minutes.
we are.
Gary's
I was just
just
saying
waiting to
in the big
spend it.
picture, it's a good day.
It's a good day, yes,
It's
John.
decreased 100,000 with
Correct.
a few adjustments to looking at the actuals to,
And to summarize his adjustments, if you look at that, 182,000 of that, 180,000 of that is from state payments that we can't predict. Policy, Gary?